Okay, this is the last video about adjustments in the length of the body of the hoodie or the shortening. And what it deals with is your pocket. Here's that pocket piece. And if you'll notice, there's these big circle, little circle. And it gets placed on the front, stitched on top of the front piece in the center. And what happens is it actually gets folded along those dots and it creates its own little facing edge. It's not a lined pocket, but it does have a self-facing that it turns back just like that. And then this goes on to your hoodie. See this notch right there? That notch? That's where it's going to lay. And then that circle, bigger circle, is with that one. And the little circle is matching that one. Okay, and finishing them out. So if I do that, I'm just going to pin this on here for just real quickly. Not taping it on, just going to pin it on so you get an idea what I'm talking about. I lengthened this much. Normally, this would have been up here. And this would be at our waist. Something like this is what it was before I did any lengthening to it. So that pocket, you can imagine, if your waistline is somewhere in here and your knit kind of rib brings it up, then your pockets are in the right place, right? Your hands would go in like this, your two pockets, one on each side of the zipper here, and it's in an appropriate place. But I have lengthened this, and now my pocket is a good 4 inches below my waist. Now you have to decide if that's what you want. Or do you want to do something where you actually lengthen this pocket and bring it up just a little bit more? If you're going to do that, what would you have to do? Well, I like to look at it that, okay, so if I cut it down here and move this up, right, build this in, what would that look like? Let's just go ahead and fold it. Let's fold it square. And that would mean that my line is on top of my line exactly right there, my lengthening line. So I'm going to put him right on the top. Make sure it stays at that. Fold him there. And now I'm going to cut on that line. I'm going to cut him apart a minute. Let's just draw it so that we can clearly see what we're doing. Okay. All right, so what would I feel comfortable with? Would I want it to come back? You know, this isn't quite the whole 4 3/4 inches, right, that I put in here. It's really only about 2 3/4 right now that I was thinking. Does that feel better to me? If I thought that this now was, before it was going to be it stopped somewhere up in here. And now if I open this up and get this back up over, if I go clear up to where it really kind of was before, that might be really deep. So I kind of think maybe I like something that isn't quite that far. Something like this. Right? So now to do that particular addition, let's get a piece of paper here. And let's draw ourselves a line first, and we want to make sure that it's far enough over that line. Let's get an arrow in here so that we can line this up. Well, that's not the right arrow though. We want the pocket arrow, which is right there, right here. See? So we want it on that arrow because that's what we're lining up. And I can make it square down here at the bottom of the pocket. All right. So now I have a place to slide this down, place to actually take this on and line him up like so. Okay. So I'm just going to put a little piece of tape there. Just one, just in case I don't really like this. So it could come apart. Remember that this is the temporary tape, not that permanent tape. And so it can actually be peeled away if you don't let it set too long. So if I was going to bring it close to where I kind of thought a little bit ago, that 2 3/4. If I were to tape that down there, and now do this. Now again, you have to remember, if you're doing this, you're going to have enough fabric to do this. Because now we're lengthening again some more fabric that's necessary. All right, here's our big adjustment over here. What am I going to do? And let's take this away now so that you're only seeing my pocket. How am I going to true that? My first instinct is to make this a little bit wider here. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let us take and draw parallel rather to this, a line at somewhere right around in here. Okay. So now if I put this line on one of my red lines underneath, or I line it up somehow, so I know that it is straight. And now I can put this one on the other, get something on that red line underneath there. And now I could draw like this, right? And I'm going to cut on that one. It really is just a big puzzle that you get to play with. You just have to keep thinking about, okay, if I do that there, what does that mean someplace else? And so it looks like I need just a little bit more paper here, which we can do. Pattern Maker always keeps all their little pieces of paper. It usually comes in play. You'll usually always use all the little pieces. So I'm going to put that there. Let's see if that's going to, not quite, but if I turn it, looks like I need a little bit bigger of a one. Let me get a little bigger, a little bit wider than that one. Okay. We're going to put it something like this so it isn't a lot of paper overhanging. Let's see now if I've got enough. Not quite, so we're going to go on up here just a little more, like so. See if that'll get us in there. That is probably really close. All right, so let's tape down this corner right here. And I can move him just a little bit more. That for sure will give us some room. I'm going to tape that little corner down. Now let's move him up here so that you can see everything that I'm doing. And let's lay our ruler here. See where we want to be. Looks like we want to be somewhere over in there, don't we? Yeah. Let's put a piece of tape there. our big thing is to make sure this distance is the same as that one before I go taping it down here. So the top, we're at 2 1/8. The bottom, I'm just not quite there. I need to move it, just swing it out just a tiny bit. And now I'm at 2 1/8. Okay. Make sure I'm level across there. Now let's see what it does, like this. Yeah. Now do you see that there's a slight bit of curve in that that line that wasn't really evident before? And that's okay. We can kind of keep that shape. That will be our new cut line for our nice big new pocket. Because if we're exaggerating the length of this hoodie, giving it a different scale look, then you would want to have the pocket have an oversized or an extended length aesthetic as well. When you're thinking about doing the designing of what you're doing through pattern adjustments, then you would want to keep those equal, or maybe not exactly equal in proportion, but still aesthetically in proportion. Okay. So now I am going to cut this piece out because it's the same pocket for, whatever size you do. And I'm literally going to go under here and get rid of some of this. Maybe we'll do it from this side. Okay, so now we're going to go in here. We're actually going to get rid of this, right? Like this. We don't need it. Just like that, right? Now we'll keep going on up here. And then I'm going to turn it over. And I'm going to get rid of a bunch of this up here, because we don't need that. Okay, we can take this now, because that all is staying there. Okay, we can make this look a little bit neater, so it doesn't throw us off when we're looking through the pattern tissue. Okay. Oh my goodness. Just slide him over there. And let's finish cutting this right here. And down here. Let's put a little tape on that right now, so it doesn't flip away. That feels pretty good right there. It's loose a little bit. Okay. Cut this out. Off it there. Okay, we're going to cut just a little more of there away because we don't need all of that underneath there. Okay, and then it would be cutting over here. And then our pocket is scaled, if not exactly the same kind of distance there, but it at least is scaled so it won't be looking like it's this little thing just attached down on the bottom. Now, if that's the aesthetic you were going for, like if you were really trying to do something that appeared distorted, right, both in its length and in the pocket then length, that it was distorted against each other, then you probably could just leave it at that. Okay, so now if you had not lengthened your top extensively, then you wouldn't be doing this either. Now, what if you had shortened it? You just have to if you shortened it, lay the original pocket pattern down and decide, do I want to make it shorter, right? And it would just be a reverse of this. You would just fold up your pattern piece. If you're making it shorter and you really don't want those pockets up high, then I had said you wouldn't need to adjust your pocket or sew on a pocket at all. It could change to being just a little patch pocket if you wanted to, or I would have you sew on at least one pocket out of your fabric onto another scrap piece to at least know how you're supposed to sew on this kind of applique pocket. All right, so that takes us to our next stop, which is actually learning how to adjust your sleeve.